Help It! From creepy enemies in games that aren't made for horror to full-on nightmare fuel that'll haunt you for the rest of your life, we count 15 monsters that'll dye your pants a shade of brown. Number 15. The Flood, Halo series. In a game about a big burly dude in power armor with a holographic naked lady sidekick killing aliens, it was a pleasant surprise to run into the Flood. And by pleasant, I of course mean unnerving and as creepy as a rancid festering ballsack come to life. The Flood don't just have a grotesque look that breathes fresh air into the stagnant concept of zombies, they also have the benefit of being an organism that ended a civilization much greater than ours. Of course, none of this is more than the Chief can handle. Even on legendary difficulty, they're far from the hardest enemies to kill, thus detracting significantly from their overall scariness. Just another reason why Earth kicks ass. We're pretty much in a constant state of fighting, so if the Flood lands in Texas or Afghanistan, it's just gonna get its shit blown away. Still, you gotta give the Flood credit for artistic impression. They infect the body, crawl through the system, look at our head and go, I don't need that shit, and just kinda push it off to the side. Number 14. Gaping Dragon, Dark Souls. Dragons are the bread and butter of fantasy, but this abomination with way too many teeth had me tempted to turn the console off and just take a walk outside. Hell, if it wasn't for the name, I wouldn't even know it's a dragon. It's kinda hard to tell what it is just by looking at it. But once I got over the grotesque visuals, I realized the boss is actually one of the easiest in the game thanks to its slow and predictable moveset. Which is kind of a shame since the artist did such a good job of crafting an enemy that can only be described as horrifying. You'd think he'd be more powerful than a butterfly, but you'd be wrong. Number 13. Headcrabs, HalfLife series. STD puns aside, these things are creepy in the best kind of way and have a fast enough speed that you really don't want to have to deal with them. Unless you're a crowbar master, but unless you play Half-Life daily, you're probably not going to be able to swat these guys away. Not only that, but the moans humans make when they're being controlled can be heard to say, "Help me! Oh God, help me!" when reversed in the audio editing program, which gives a not so subtle indication that their victims are very much conscious of the pain and horror they're going through. Still, you gotta admit, the headcrabs are kinda cute looking. At least Lamar's alright, they debeaked him, he just eats watermelons. Number 12. Clickers, The Last of Us. Originality in horror goes a long way, and while a fungus controlling a person is creepy, if you don't do it right, they're just gonna feel like any other zombie. Which is pretty much the case for all the other fungal enemies in this game except for the clicker. They're quick, basically invincible, deformed, and most importantly, blind. To make up for this weakness, they make clicking noises to use echolocation like a bat does, which makes for a cool and creepy way to add stealth and is also surprisingly believable. In fact, some blind people actually use echolocation to find their way around, which adds a lot to the realism in this game. Most everything can be explained, which is a lot different from your standard zombie game. Number 11. Slenderman, Slender. To be honest, Slender's not a good game, it's basically a walking simulator. But the mythos of the internet created Slenderman carried it to reach enough notoriety for Let's Players and other content creators to make a bunch of money. Well, that and the whole jump scare fetish thing, but that's neither here nor there. Forgetting the gameplay and the jump scares, the story behind Slenderman's pretty cool. The character's creepy, mysterious, and one of the last things you want to meet in a forest at night. Now, if they spruced up the gameplay a bit and used the version with the much cooler tentacles, old Slendy would be much higher on my list and closer to my heart. Number 10. Dead Space. Dead Space has a bit too much action to be a real survival horror game, but luckily the atmosphere and design makes it plenty creepy. This is aided heavily by the bloody car crash corpses and children's screams. And when I say car crash corpses, I'm not going for a random descriptor. The creators of the game used real photos of mangled bodies from car accidents as study and reference material. Either these guys went home disturbed and needed therapy, or they're already fucked up to begin with. But psychoanalysis aside, the net result is a disgusting and macabre enemy that fits the mood perfectly. Number 9. Animatronics, Five Nights at Freddy's series. When you get right down to it, it doesn't make much sense to give children's amusement animatronics several rows of razor-sharp teeth. Unless your idea of amusement is stuffing the corpses of children into your robotics anyways. In the first game, the furry robots weren't very creepy, and without jump scares, they would have only scared those with phobias. However, later entries in the series really upped the piss-pants factor by making them more dilapidated and hellish looking to the point to where you might as well give them visible brains. Number 8. Lickers, Resident Evil series. Speaking of visible brains, these guys will rip yours out through your nose and wear them as a hat. Well, not really, but they do have exposed brains. Also no eyes, but they don't seem to have any difficulty finding you. Maybe their tongues have little eyes on them. Either way, since Resident Evil 2 is a game where even a slow-moving zombie can get the jump on you, these quick, long-tongue, wall-climbing bastards are terrifying. And you can multiply that terror based on how many ink ribbons you have left. Number 7. Chris Walker, Outlast. Don't let the boring name fool you. This metric ton of meat and mutilation will hunt you down and make you cry for your mother. Not only is he giant, but he's also fast and will actually check your hiding places when you run like the little bitch that you are. This is compounded by the fact that you can't fight back at all, making him and every other enemy in the game an actual threat. Although once you get used to the game, it's not that hard to avoid detection or capture. The enemies aren't very bright, but they're pretty fucking scary. Number 6. SCP-173, SCP Containment Breach. If you dig around on the internet enough, it seems that the idea behind this unnerving monstrosity actually came out before the Doctor Who episode that had basically the same idea. Though even if it did rip off the Weeping Angels, it's still frightening to have an otherworldly monster that only moves when you blink. Adding a blinking mechanic to a horror game was actually pretty cool and definitely made 173 the unrelenting terror that it deserved to be. Number 5. Lisa, PT. What can I say? Ghost women in nightgowns are creepy. Not sure why that is, but it's true. It's also helped by the fact that Lisa moves in totally unpredictable ways and will eat you when she catches you. She's also unkillable like all the best horror monsters and has a face that not even a mother could look at without a shiver down her spine. Number 4. The Gatherers. Amnesia. Bloated, rotting flesh doesn't look good on anyone, especially when their jaw hangs between their nipples. Combine that with chains and ropes binding the unwilling flesh to the body, and you have a monster that has no chance of getting a date to the prom. Even with a lovely serenade about how its heart literally stopped beating thanks to her beauty. So yeah, these buggers were a reveal that stuck in the minds of anyone who played the game. Unfortunately, they put its face on the cover of the game, ruining the experience for those who bought it after a certain point. It's kinda like if the logo for Alien just had a big ol' xenomorph right there in the picture. Number 3. The Xenomorph. Alien Isolation, the original scary alien. It's hungry and it has its eyes on you for lunch. Not only that, but it's impervious to your attacks and it will find you no matter where you hide. The absolute best thing about Isolation is that the Xenomorph is not bound to pre-scripted events and actually runs on an AI system that's more than a little brilliant. Isolation gave all the right honors to the original movie and you have to applaud that after the awful attempts that came before it. Number 2. Broken Neck. Fatal Frame. You know what's even creepier than a dead woman ghost? A dead girl ghost with a broken neck to top it off. Not only that, but she's aggressively fast and will easily catch you off guard. The broken neck isn't just for show either, since the way you defeat enemies in this game is by taking photos of their faces. The odd placement of her face makes it much harder to remove her unwanted presence. Number 1. Pyramid Head. Silent Hill 2. You all knew he'd be on top, and those of you who didn't should probably go play Silent Hill 2. He has amazing character design, a creepy as fuck entrance, and has a ton of symbolism up his triangle-shaped orifices. You don't even get to kill him. Once James is over his desire to be punished, he'll just fall on his awesome-looking sword because there's no way James can finish him even with a chainsaw. Even though his character was sullied by appearing after Silent Hill 2, that doesn't detract from just how scary he is. Having him as a boss you need to defeat wasn't enough for the game. They tried to make you get rid of 2 of them, and if that encounter didn't make you feel scared, I don't know what will. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.